Well, today, so I now will introduce the valedictory speakers for each class. Our first valedictory address for the class of 2020 will be given by James Kennerly. Everyone, please welcome James.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be back together after such a long time. And it's an honor to receive this award and to be asked to speak today. The time I spent in the Berkeley ELC department was transformative in unexpected ways. I remember in my second year in Chinese 7B, back when we had class in buildings, I read a short essay by the 16th century literatist Yuan Hongdao, expounding on the art of spider fighting. I found this work to be quite strange. It taught me the 8 types of spiders that fight, each given ingenious names by Yuan's friend Sanmu. Aside from inventing the art of spider fighting, Sanmu was, quote, very good at poetry. This essay was stored in an official, attractive volume and presented in a class in the #1 public university in the US. It was therefore supposed to teach me something about Chinese culture, and in turn about China as a whole. But it didn't seem to be doing any of that. At the very most, it taught me something about Chinese culture in the late Ming, namely that many people rejected official systems of value and developed anti-orthodox practices of connoisseurship. But this was tantamount to saying that in that period, there was a preoccupation with knowing useless things, and knowing that was not very useful to me. So I simply ignored the essay and moved on. I realize now that my education up to that point had taught me to read like a hungry, scavenging animal, rifling through texts for main points, underlying philosophies, political messages, and throwing out the rest. However, as time went on, and I began to take more classes on East Asian fiction, I began to develop another way to read. My classes in the ELC department encouraged me to slow down, to pay attention to the words themselves as much as what those words signify, to take seriously real human experience, but also unreality, fantasies, fairy tales, and illusions. The single most significant text I read in undergrad was Cao Xueqin's Hong Liu Meng, Dream of the Red Chamber, with Professor Jones. This book was a serious and disorienting challenge to my assumption that every text worth reading must only mean one thing. The book changed the way I think about human relationships and also happened to change my choice of career, convincing me to pursue a PhD in Chinese literature. I feel quite fortunate to have spent 3 semesters with Professor Ashmore, who not only gave me a masterful introduction to Warring States prose, but also demonstrated what it means to properly enter the world of a text on its own terms. And Professor An's impassioned and sensitive discussions on modern Korean literature brought me into contact with many brilliant writers of whom I had been previously ignorant. My favorite was Isang, who powerfully conveyed the sensory dimensions of capitalist alienations as well as the pleasures of secretly playing with one's wife's cosmetics. As I reflect upon those hours spent in physical classrooms, I cannot fail to mention Zhang Laosh's advanced Chinese class and the time she took after class to teach a few of us Shanghainese. During a unit focusing on Chinese history, rather than simply assign us a textbook passage, she brought in a pile of her own photo albums, souvenirs, and letters to companions from her time spent as an educated youth sent to the China-Soviet border during the Cultural Revolution. At the time, I didn't understand everything she was saying, but the words moved me deeply and made these previously abstract historical moments feel immediately present. Thus, she added great meaning to my journey towards Chinese language proficiency. After graduating, while packing to move out of my Berkeley apartment, I rediscovered this essay on spider fighting among my undergraduate class materials. I was astounded. This time, I marveled at how Yuan's friend Sanlu had created a whole new system of knowledge centered around spider fighting, and how Yuan had conveyed that in his short work. I also marveled at how his exposition of this exceedingly mundane topic contained within it a profound expression of friendship. I was suddenly overcome with sadness, lamenting all of the other stories I must have thrown in the trash because I deemed them useless. Indeed, my time at Berkeley had taught me that the surplus words, ideas, and texts that the scavenger throws away contains many important dimensions of human life. They also contain the possibility for people to come to know each other across great distances of culture and language. To develop this field of seemingly useless knowledge seems to me an urgent and critical task, especially so in a time when most Americans' understanding of East Asia, where it exists at all, is confined to politics, and where nationalism and cultural chauvinism are quickly growing on both sides of the Pacific. This is one of the many reasons I consider Berkeley ELC to be such a special and important place. I would like to express my deep gratitude to all of my former professors and GSIs for their kind mentorship, including Li Laoshi, Professor Paul, and Professor Bao. Any academic success I have had, as well as my choice to eventually become a teacher myself, is directly attributable to all of you. And from my parents and two brothers, I've received nothing but love and support. Thank you. Finally, I send my best wishes to my whole class and the class of 2021. Thank you so much.
Woo! Thank you so much, James.
Yeah!
Truly beautiful and traces of many of us. That
great.
path
That was great.
of discovery that brought us to where we are today. And I also have to note a little, I see a little affinity there between you and Zhuangzi, who appreciated uselessness too. So thank you so much for those words, and congratulations once again. And now I would like to invite the valedictory